you pick up the how in your stuff.
Right.
There needs more of that.
Right.
Because people come here and they go, I know why I'm here, and now I need to know how I can do stuff.
Right.
And the stuff's really simple that needs to be done. But you put it really nicely because you talk about this is hard work.
Yeah.
But it's actually simple human common decency of connection and belonging. And here's the ways that you can do it, but don't forget that it's hard.
Right. Yeah. Because if it was easy, I wouldn't be here talking about it.
It's a bit like I say to people: if we just ate less food and moved more, there'd be no personal trainers.
Right.
It's the same with us.
Right. Same thing.
If managers managed in a human way, we wouldn't be here doing this right now.
That's exactly right. I think about that a lot just in the conversation about relationships, because like one of the things I will say to people is like, the good news is you've been in relationships your whole life, right? So you just need to, like, we need to bring some of that into the workplace. But on the other hand, I also know that, right, the world is rife with bad relationships, right? That's why divorce rates are terrible and people are unhappy and lonely.
Yep.
And so one of the gifts we can give back to the world is if the workplace starts teaching relationship, then that has a ripple effect back into their world, in their personal life.
And I think one of the things that I find in my work is when people go away, they come back later, 3 months later, and they say, this has impacted on my life. Not on just my work, but now at home. Well, you told a great story about your son the other day.
Yeah.
And I've had a guy come to the room and he wanted to build a better relationship with his son, was the goal he worked on. What he worked out was that if he let his son pick a playlist for the car, he didn't put his headphones on, and then they talked. And he said, I learnt that at a work development thing, but it's impacted on my life. And that's what we've got to get better at.
Absolutely. That's the human piece, right?
Yeah.
That whole connecting it together. Okay, so I'm really interested to hear your perspective. So the lens that the conversations we've been having is really thinking about, and I want to start with the challenge, is that, we're all here. There's 3,000 some odd people here at this event, all trying to figure out, like, how do we make our workplaces more engaging, more human, better for the people. So we're still searching. I'm curious, in your work, what are you seeing or feeling is the biggest challenge right now in today's environment that employers are facing to really creating that fully engaged experience?
So the thing that I see is there's a question about what is the work. So if traditionally the work is the technical work,
right.
and so like when I've done my technical work, then I'll go and do that other work, that human work you want me to do.
Right.
And I think the biggest challenge is how do we start to give managers permission to focus on that other work as well. So at the moment I spend 98% of my time on the technical work because that's what's rewarded me,
right.
and 2% on that other work when I get a chance. I think what's got to happen is the challenge is to flip that and say, what if we gave just 25% to that at the moment,
right.
and 75 here? And I think it's reimagining what work is, and there's the work of, I say, above the neck work, which is the logical, technical stuff, and then there's the below the neck work, which is the heart, the gut, the human stuff that is what humans want. They want to be connected, they want to belong, and that's where that work starts. So I think giving permission to do that.
Well, and that's, I have always thought of that, or sort of described that as a product of this sort of era of productivity or efficiency worship that we've been in, that we've squeezed all of the social space out of the organization. Is that the same thing that you're...
Absolutely. So, the 4 words that I hate the most, doing more with less.
Right.
And then whoever coined that phrase, and now everybody uses it around the world, we just have to do more with less. So what that means is we have less humans and less time to do the work, so we squeeze all of the social fabric out of an organisation. Right. We create social isolation in order to be more productive.
Right.
We've got a stretch target for next year.
Right.
So we need to hit that target. So, you guys don't get to sit around anymore and talk to each other.
Right.
Don't go and have a coffee and get to know people. So I think that's the big challenge in that space. And in Australia, it's the beauty about coming here, Jason, is it's exactly the same here as it is in Australia.
Yeah. When I love the idea of kind of what I heard or took, I think, in what you said is that it's not just about like changing the workplace, but we need to really reframe what work is or what the work is.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. So on a practical level then, when you're working with an organization and they're trapped in that cycle, how do you help them break that? Like what are a couple of steps that you tend to advise or help them put in place to start shifting that?
Yeah, so the very first thing is to, again, reimagine what leadership development looks like. Now, for 25 years in the corporate world, when I went and was trained, I was trained to look outwards.
Right.
So it's like, how do you motivate people, Mark? How do you have difficult conversations? How do you do these things? I've flipped that, and all the work's here first. In order to lead others, you must be able to lead yourself. So I guess my crusade, and I'll call it a crusade, is my work is framed around self. Know self, understand self, be vulnerable, be open to just exchanging ideas with other people about successes and failures and those things. So my ability to convince my clients to say, we don't do any of the outside work until we've done our inside work. And that's where I'm seeing that I'm having success, is that we talked before about the whole human, is that the self-work is helping the whole human come out and flourish. And it's different to what most others do, because the easy work is the outwork.
Right.
But I say, until you hold that mirror up to yourself, and the question that I asked, which I got from a fellow by the name of Mark Lebusque, who's one of the fathers of adaptive leadership, is, what's your part in the mess? So until you can answer that question about what is it that you're bringing that's creating the mess, because we always like to look out that way, that's where the power's coming from.
That's powerful stuff, and it's interesting that it's so, again, back to what we were talking about earlier, simple idea, start here. And actually I found too that, people, until they've done the work and got clear on themselves, they really can't see other people clearly in that work relationship either. So one of the things that I think about a lot is, here we are, we're 20 some odd years, maybe 30 years into this work of employee engagement, right? We've been, it got coined and Gallup started measuring it and reporting on it, and here we sit. The numbers aren't moving in a good direction, and that, we're not breaking through. And I think a lot of that is because of, at least I think, it's misunderstanding about what the work is. So I'm curious, from your perspective, what is it that you think managers or leaders most misunderstand or just don't get about employee engagement in this work?
I think the thing that they're not getting is that that it's not a once a year event. So it's or once or twice a year event. So that survey that we have to do, and everyone's like, I've got real work to do. So we fill that out, we get a score, we try 3 things, and on we move. It's like this isn't an event. This is an everyday thing. So I think what we've got to do with managers is get them to understand that let's stop trying to score this thing, and I say let's start trying to feel it. So every day, you would know this. You walk into an organisation and you can feel whether or not there's happiness, there's engagement, and you can feel culture, I believe. I think we've got to move more away from the number and more to the feel of it. The interesting, I'll put this to you. The needle on engagement hasn't moved in 40 years. We have spent billions of dollars on leadership development. So here's my offer to you, Jason, right now. 40 years ago, I say to you, give me $10 billion and I'll guarantee you no return on your investment in 40 years' time.
Right.
You're not giving me 40 million.
No way.
40 billion.
No.
So that's what I say to people today. Why are we continuing to do the same things, looking outwards instead of looking inwards, having this twice a year score, and nothing's changing?
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Well, the investment in the cycle is insane, right? And I think, but that's also why I'm excited about events like a Work Human, where there are topics increasingly on the table that address that, like personal relationship and the complexity and messiness and hardness of this work. and that's where the feeling comes in, that one-to-one relationship. So here's a question that I am fascinated to get your take on this. I'm handing you a magic wand.
Yep.
And with that magic wand, you can wave that and essentially will into or magically put into extinction any specific management behavior or practice or mindset or fad. What would you choose to put out of existence in 2019 forever?
Wow, how long have we got? I think the first thing would be that it's the reframing of work that I talked about before. There's technical work and there's human work, so we need to start to get away from the fact that this is the work. I think that's the first thing. I think simple things like, and what comes from that is turn up to your one-to-one meetings. So let's ban managers from saying, oh look, I'm sorry, I've got something more important happening right now, so I can't see you for the 6th week in a row.
Right.
It's those little things. It's when you're with your people, but you're not really with them because you're thinking about something else. It is walking past them and picking your phone up to make sure you don't have to have a conversation and a dialogue with them. It's the little things that will make the big difference. It's those moments in time where you can either choose to interact with the human, like in a present way, or you can just choose to wander past. I don't think there's any magic formula for it. It's just, I'm going to say this, you've got to build the foundation, and the foundation is trust. So the tip I give you is you need to change your mindset that says, I trust that my people turn up with good intention to do good work, and that I'm not working on the fact that I trust them when they show me that they're capable of doing something. It's about intention and it's not about capability. So you need to shift your mindset, and that starts the whole process of humanizing your work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No, my
Appreciate
pleasure.
it.